You're listening to the How to Talk to Girls podcast, where you'll learn step-by-step how to meet and seduce beautiful women. Whether you're looking for one night of fun, a week-long fling, or a long-term relationship. I'm your host, Trip, and the episode starts now. Hello and welcome to the How to Talk to Girls podcast. I'm your host, Trip Kramer from tripadvice.com. Welcome back to another episode. This episode, we are doing an interview with a friend of mine, with a colleague of mine, with a very, very smart woman. Her name is V Neal. She's a sex coach, specifically for men. She works with some women too, but mainly for men, and that's why I have her on the podcast today, because we're going to be talking about the female experience of sex, and we're going to get into this, and you're going to hear why this is important and why I decided to do this. Honestly, me and Caitlin were talking the other day, and we're just talking, catching up on things, and we just naturally, we talk about sex, we get into that conversation, and she starts explaining what it's like for a woman to have sex. I go, stop. This is great material. This is stuff that the guys need to learn. They need to understand this. They need to understand what it's like for a woman, because, of course, you know what it's like for you. Maybe you haven't had it. I don't know. But either way, you should understand what she's getting into, because if you understand how she feels, not just how you feel, you're going to have a better experience. You're going to make a better experience for her, which then in turn will make a better experience for you. You'll connect with her on a deeper level. That's what you're looking for. I'd hope so, because really sex is that much better when you are connected to the person. And so you're going to hear from the insight of Caitlin, not just because she's a female. Of course, we could just get any female on the podcast and she can talk about her experience, but Caitlin understands how this is all working on a more biological level, and she knows how to explain it. So that's why I have her on today. So check her out at bettersexcoach.com after you listen to this episode so you can learn more from her. Check that out. And also, if you are at the point where you're still struggling to actually get a girl interested in having sex with you because you have no idea how to attract her, then I want you to check this out real quick. Hey, it's Trip Kramer. How would you like to be the man that women are naturally drawn to and command the animalistic magnetism that makes women desperately compete to become your lover? It's not enough to attract her. You've got to get her hooked. And that's why I'm inviting you to learn how to create an amazing abundance in your dating life that will make your friends grab you and demand to know what you're doing differently. You'll learn how to turn a female friend into a lover, how to set up a first date that naturally leads to sex. You'll even learn to get your ex-girlfriend or wife back if that's what you want. This program, Hooked, will get you everything you need to enjoy the sex life and dating life you know you deserve. Go to getherhooked.com to learn how to get a woman completely addicted to you. 100% money back guaranteed. Getherhooked.com. So go to getherhooked.com if you want to understand how to get girls interested in you, so then you can actually use some of the stuff in this podcast, which will make an amazing sexual experience. All right? Awesome. Now, let's get to it. Here is my interview with Miss Caitlin V Neal. Hey, Caitlin, how you doing?
Hey, Trip. I'm great. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I believe we absolutely have done podcast episodes before. I'd had you on the podcast, but I think the last time you were on, this must have been at least 2 to 3 years ago.
Yeah, I think it was.
I just don't remember the topic.
Oh,
I'm not asking you. I don't think you're going to remember. You're not going to remember it either.
It's been such a long time.
Such a long time. In fact, I'm shocked that I haven't had you back in a while. If you guys don't already know Caitlin and you don't watch my YouTube channel, well, you should, because I have plenty of videos with her. She teaches us how to make a female squirt. She teaches us how to last longer in bed. Check out those videos, and then you can see Caitlin dispensing her amazing, extensive knowledge on sex. I mean, that's why you're a sex coach and you do what you do. But it's mind-blowing how much you know. Maybe you can tell the guys really quickly how long you've been doing this for and how you got into it and why I trust you so much to talk about this topic.
Well, I started my journey as just a sexpert in general back when I was like 14 or 15 years old. The first time that I took a sex ed class, because I had already been having sex with my boyfriend at that time. I was like super curious, super horny teenager.
14, you lost your virginity.
Yeah, I think 14,
Wow.
13 and 9 months or 14 and 9 months. I have the date. It was September 29th. I just had my anniversary.
I love that you remember that.
Yeah. Oh, it was like hugely important to me. Yep. I kept notes the first several times we had sex. I would like write it in my calendar, my like little planner as a high school girl. And I kept tons of notes. So obviously this is the career that I was meant for. But yeah, I knew even back then that I was going to help people have better sex. I just didn't know exactly how I was going to go about it. So I started many different things. I was a researcher, sexual health study organizer, policy analyst, sexual health educator. I worked with everyone from homeless queer youth to adult polyamorous and kinky folk and everyone in between. And then I left my PhD because I felt really disconnected from the people who I wanted to work with. And I started my coaching business right around the time that you and I initially met. And I discovered over the course of the following years that I had a real knack for working on premature ejaculation. So that's where I ended up. That's my specialty. I didn't choose it. It chose me, but it's my gift and it's the thing that I love to do most in the world.
Wow, that's amazing. When you were losing your virginity at 14, I was getting thrown into the friend zone at 14. So we were having very opposite experiences in our high school years. I was not, at that point, I had no idea I was going to be teaching guys how to meet and attract women. But that is great. You've been doing it for such a long time. And I think as the guy who's listening right now, we'll see really how much you know. That's why. So Caitlin, we're also friends. And we were talking before on the phone. She was giving me some advice on lubricant. And that just got off into a whole tangent. We were talking about the experience that a female has during sex. And it's interesting because I haven't really thought about that much. And I think guys don't think about that either, right? I mean, of course, it's more natural just to think about ourselves and what we're feeling and how we're doing. But like to really, really put yourself in the situation of what a woman feels like, I think that's interesting to know. And I think it's important to know, especially if you're, in a long-term relationship with a female, it'd be good for you to understand, what is she experiencing through your sex life and what's going on with that. I mean, Caitlin, why do you think it's important?
Yeah, I think for most guys, they're concerned a lot about female pleasure. They want to know that the woman is having orgasm or is getting off or is at least, experiencing the more pleasurable aspects of sex, but they don't go beyond that, right? Like they think about, okay, like did she come or not? Did she enjoy it? But they don't think about like what it must actually be like to have sex as a woman. And I think that understanding that, which is such a crucial component of having sex just with another person, like what does it feel like to be in their body, is the key to being a great lover to women. Right? Like you can't provide for someone's needs unless you're able to really get in their head or in this case, like in their body and like feel out what their needs are from a first person perspective.
Right. Exactly. And so I think that you're going to be able to give us, because you're obviously a female, so that helps a lot, right? I wouldn't want to take this information from a guy, but you're also a sex coach. So I feel like you just have an ability to be able to help guys understand what it's like. So
yeah,
let's
and as
get
a sex
into
coach for men, right? Like especially into translating.
Right. Do you work with any women at all?
I do. About 20% of my clients are women, but they tend to be the partners or girlfriends of the men who come to work with me.
Oh, interesting. What is a female's biggest pain point when they come to you? What's their issue?
Well, if they're a single female, usually it's that they're having trouble reaching orgasm. Maybe in general, but often with a partner. So I work with some women who can only reach orgasm while they're masturbating and using a vibrator. And this isn't like because of the vibrator or anything like that, right? It's just like that they are able to reach orgasm when they're alone, and when they're with a partner, it's really hard. On the other side, when I work with a woman and I'm already working with her boyfriend or husband, often it's that they're just totally on different pages sexually. And my job is to come in and be the sort of translator. So she's saying one thing, he's not really understanding it. I'm able to speak woman to man, right? And then he's got these needs and he is expressing them, with a total lack of grace and empathy. And I'm able to speak man back to woman. So I do a lot of translating in those scenarios. So that's what I'm here to do today.
Got it. Yeah, no, that's definitely interesting. It's just that you have to do that, right? It's like this is the whole reason why we're doing this episode is because we have a hard time understanding what's going on in the female brain and what's happening there, right? So yeah, where do we start with this? I mean, where do we begin?
Yeah, I was thinking we could start with just like from my perspective and from a female perspective, what sex even begins to feel like at the very beginning, right? What is sex like just physiologically in our bodies? How does it differ between what it feels like to have sex as a man, right? And I think the most crucial distinction, like the number one, if I had to point to like any major distinction, it's the difference between having something in your body versus putting something in someone else's body. Like at face value, this seems like, duh, Caitlin, of course, that is the major difference between him, being female bodied and being male bodied in a sexual encounter. But I really want listeners just to pause and think about this just for a minute. Just like hold that in your mind for a minute longer than you ever have before and consider what that must be like. Consider the distinction between like entering someone else's body, which is like, okay, I can put my fingers in someone. I actually have put my fingers in men and women's bodies. And it feels nice to be the giver in that situation. For the most part, they're like anywhere that you're putting your finger is going to be like warm and wet and moist and welcoming and soft and squishy, right? It's kind of like, I don't know, I'm not describing anything that you haven't ever experienced. On the other end, though, welcoming someone else's fingers or body parts or penis into your body is really different. It's a lot different than putting something in someone else's, right? So you are accepting a strange object, right? That you're hoping is clean and you're hoping is, and by clean, I don't mean just like disease-free. I mean like literally clean, like has been washed recently. You're hoping that they take good care of it. You're hoping that they're going to treat your body with like softness, gentleness, kindness, respect, right? It's a very different experience to be even just, imagine the difference between putting your finger in someone else's mouth and having someone put their finger in your mouth. Like I
was actually kind of thinking that as you're talking, I was like, where could I imagine, something going inside of me? That's a little bit more natural than maybe something going in my butt, and then
right.
The first thing is like, well, the only opening I have other than that is my mouth. So it's like, yeah, and then that's a very good way of putting it. So much different. You're way more like vulnerable in a way. Someone is really taking up your space.
Yes.
It's almost, you almost kind of feel like it's a lack of control. Right? If you put your finger in someone else's mouth, there's no worries. You can take it out, you can put it in, you can do whatever you want. But when it's going inside of yours, you're just like, whoa, what's going on here?
Right. You might want to like examine that finger first. Right. You might want to like have a look at it and go, this has been washed recently. If this is the kind of finger I want to have in my mouth. And beyond that, when you want some warning, like I could put my finger in someone's mouth. I don't need a whole lot of prep time. Like I don't need to think about it all that much. There's not that much for me to consider. Like, yeah, you want my finger in your mouth? Sure. Boop. Right. The other way around, I want some time to get ready mentally and physically to have someone else's fingers in my mouth. Right. And the same is true for women in their bodies. Right. If someone's going to enter your vagina, your pussy, you're going to want a little bit of time to get used to and get mentally and physically prepared to have something else in your body, a foreign object inside of your body. I think this is the best metaphor for why women take a little bit more time and why the other most crucial thing that I would like to educate all men on how it feels to have sex as a woman is that it often feels like we're being rushed. It takes us some time to warm up to this idea of something is going to be entering my body. Physically, it takes time. Like just your body needs to be able to produce the moisture, and the vagina does this really cool process called tenting where it actually like becomes longer. The vaginal canal becomes longer as she becomes aroused. There is a sort of like 5-step domino process of her body getting ready in order to have sex. And when things are rushed, it's like someone running up to you and like sticking a finger in your mouth, right? You didn't have any time to get ready. You didn't have any time to prepare. And therefore the way that your body and your mind are going to react is not going to be as welcoming and cared and like prepared as if you had a conversation that morning that was kind of flirtatious, and maybe you exchanged some naughty text messages at lunch, and then maybe you were, grabbing her thighs underneath the table at dinner, and then you had like a long makeout session when you got home. Her body's got a lot of time, if you do that, to prepare for you to be inside of it.
Yeah. And I want to kind of go even deeper into this idea of rushing, right? Where I'd say, generally speaking, a man might be ready a little bit faster than a woman, right? I mean, he can just, like you're saying, like, okay, ready, good, ready to put it in, or a woman's like, wait a minute, hold on. Because also it takes a little bit of time for her to warm up. So it's a mental thing, it's a physical thing, it's all connected. For a man, let's say in this example, he's not having any kind of erectile dysfunction or performance anxiety. So if that's not happening and he's just kind of ready to go, he's just ready to go. And it happens fairly fast. But for a woman, it takes more time. So I want to ask you this, just maybe for tips for some of these guys, understanding now that it takes a woman a little bit of time to get turned on, to prepare her body physically, like you're saying, and also mentally for this foreign object to come inside of her. When is there a good amount of time? Like, how do you know? Like, is there a certain amount of foreplay you should do? Should you never have sex that quickly? Meaning, like, when you guys are ready to do it, you can't just go for it. What are the rules here?
Yeah, I think that there's always going to be an exception to the rule, right? Because there's going to be the quickie that you really dive right in, and she was all the way ready already, and it went really, it was really hot and sexy in the back of the car in the parking lot, or whatever. But as a general rule, just like you're having sex at home without having a bounded time, so you've got enough time to actually enjoy your sexual encounter. 20 minutes is, if you want to talk about clock time, 20 minutes is a good amount of time for a woman to be fully ready to go, ready to be penetrated. And I mean 20 minutes from the idea that sex is going to happen, through kissing, touching, foreplay, oral sex, manual sex of fingering. 20 minutes is a reasonable amount of time. But I don't necessarily think that watching the clock and using that is the best indicator. I think the very best indicator is a woman pulling you towards her, wanting you to be inside of her. So she'll do little things she'll cock her hips this way, or she'll kind of shimmy up to you, or she'll kind of put herself in a position, or she'll actually grab you and start to angle you towards her, right? All of those things are great indicators that she's ready for you to be inside of her, for you to penetrate her.
Now, if this is all happening, and because you say the beginning of the initiation of sex, isn't that usually kissing? When would that actually be?
Well, for women, foreplay starts the last time that you had sex. Right as soon as you rolled over and you cuddled, that's when foreplay starts. There's no real distinction, I think, for women's brains the same way that there is for men's brains, right? So for man, you can go about your whole day. You might think about sex a lot, but it's not like foreplay. Even if you text a woman, even if you're receiving naughty pictures from her, that doesn't really count for you mentally as foreplay, right? That's just receiving pictures, right? And then foreplay starts the minute that you're back home from the date and you start making out in the hallway on the way to her apartment. But for women, this process of foreplay really starts, it actually never really truly stops, right? The way that you behave first thing in the morning, the things that you say to her that are suggestive, the way that you message her throughout the day, the way that you establish yourself and assert, dominance. This is where we're going to go later. And I can't wait to see the smile on your face when I surprise you with where I'm taking you tonight. That's foreplay. That is all sexually relevant to her. Women don't have the same sort of boundaries or compartmentalization skills that men have when it comes to sex. And I'm speaking really generally here. Of course, not all women are going to have these experiences and not all men will, but this is just if you're in a relationship with an average person, these are the kinds of things that you can expect in terms of where her boundaries are for what's sexually relevant material and what's sexually irrelevant material. While you're in those early dating phases, everything counts as foreplay. And this is why you've got to be careful about having, demonstrating less mature qualities. So you have a total meltdown in traffic because someone cut you off. That's a huge turnoff. That's like the opposite of foreplay. Or, remember that foreplay is happening. So that's going to actually make her less likely to have sex with you or want to have sex with you later. It's going to make it harder for her to get aroused later because she's going to be looking at you going, yeah, he's got a lot of things that I do want to have sex with him. I want to have orgasms with him. I want to make myself available and vulnerable to him. But I don't know that I can trust him because obviously he's a little bit unstable and maybe he could even get aggressive towards me. Maybe this could actually be a dangerous partnership for me. You don't understand that little things that you don't think have anything to do with sex and sexual arousal actually have a huge impact on the way that women are seeing you as a sexual being.
Yeah, there's a lot obviously that goes into it,
Mm-hmm.
And I think, for guys who are listening to really understand that helps, just understand that this is why foreplay is important. This is why women think the way they do. This is the difference between, what's going on for a man sexually and for a woman sexually. So let's dive even deeper. So you said this to me earlier on the phone, which is so interesting. It's so obvious, but we just don't think about this. You're like, yeah, part of sex, once you guys start having sex, she's, having this foreign object in her body, is this idea of this guy is just pumping away at her.
Yeah.
So go into that a little bit. I thought that was funny, but very true.
Yeah. So a lot of guys spend a ton of time and energy getting to the point where they're having sex, and then they don't spend as much time and energy on developing the skills of sex. And instead, maybe they're looking at porn or they're just imagining from what they've seen or what their friends talk about. And they're just drilling away, just in, out, in, out. Well, okay, just the same way that going back to this finger analogy, just the same way that if someone put their finger in your mouth consensually and you had some time to warm up to the idea, you probably wouldn't want them to just start ramming it around in there, right? You'd probably want them to take their time, allow your mouth to kind of get used to the feeling of having something new inside of it, right? You definitely start with slower pumping motions, maybe even some circular motions. And cool fact about women's anatomy, the majority of the nerve endings in a woman's vagina are in the first inch of the vaginal canal. And the majority of all of the things that give her pleasure and sensation, including the clitoris, which has 2 legs that dive deeper down. You can go online and search anatomy of the clitoris. You will be absolutely astonished to find out that the clitoris is enormous. It's just mostly underneath the surface. That all is on the outside, right? It's on the outside of her body, in her vulva. So actually, instead of just getting in and then pumping away, if you enter her and then work yourself into positions where you can go side to side or around, keeping a lot of pressure on the outside of her body instead of pumping away, it can be way, way, way more pleasurable, especially in the early parts of sex, right? After you've been having sex for a while, hopefully she's had an orgasm or 2, then you can pump away. That's when deep rhythmic thrusting really feels good, but it doesn't feel good at the onset. It doesn't feel good early on in sex because again, your body's just appreciating and understanding that there's something new and different inside of it. And that takes a couple moments to sort of get used to.
And it can be quite jarring too if a guy just goes in and just starts going at it. I mean, again, time and place for that, and that could absolutely happen. But generally speaking, just kind of whoa, slow down there, partner. You just got in here.
Yeah.
Let's explore a little bit. Let's warm up all the different areas because you're going to be entering her all the way, So you're saying just take your time a little bit. And also for yourself, there's no rush, right? Just go in there and discover, and it feels good. And there's no reason to just go at it right away. I mean, I'm just going to imagine a guy would want sex to last a decent amount of time.
Right.
So there's no rush for you either, right? It's and now that you're hearing Caitlin say this, now oh, she doesn't really need that either right away. It's work up to it, take your time, and have it be more of a journey.
Right. and enjoy yourself in the process too, right? Like you're saying, there should be a lot of enjoyment that you can take instead of focusing entirely on her pleasure. Like you can enjoy going slow and you can enjoy, your experience with her without being so focused on that, okay, she needs me to pump really hard and fast in order to get her to orgasm as quickly as possible before I reach orgasm. Like nobody wins in that scenario.
Right. Okay, cool. So tell us more. What else do you think guys should know in terms of the female experience of sex?
So I think going back to taking perspective, like just putting yourself in her shoes, thinking about what you would want. Maybe if she was a woman that you cared about, right? Maybe she's like a female friend of yours, right? How would you want a guy to treat her during sex? Does that make sense? Like putting yourself in the perspective of a woman and how you would like to be treated, right? You'd want him to be dominant. You'd want him to, demonstrate his physical strength, but you'd also want him to check in with her, make sure that things felt good, that the things that you were doing to her were in the right vein. You'd also want him to check in and be like, do you want it rougher, right? So no matter what it is, there's no like wrong way to have sex, right? The only wrong way to have sex is if the other person didn't want it, isn't into it, and isn't getting enjoyment out of it. One other thing that a lot of guys I've noticed tend to do is they hide their head in one way or another. Like they don't make eye contact or like they're on top, but they kind of keep their head down or like tuck their head into her neck. And they're not in there so that they can kiss or lick or make out. Really, they're just like pumping away and you can't see their face. And it could just be any guy up there, right? Like those things that let her know that it's you and that you're connected with her. Those are the things that feel really good. Like she wants to know she's having sex with you, right? She's not having sex with just any guy. And so letting her know that it is you so that she can see your face, so that she can look into your eyes, so that she can feel connected with you, lets her know that you're there and you're with her, right? Does that all make sense? Like women are so much more concerned about men than men ever realize. And they're so much more interested in having sex with you. I mean, if they're already there, they're underneath you. Like obviously they chose you to be having sex with. So they want that individual connection and attention, and they want it from you. So don't hide in any capacity, whether that's emotional hiding or physical hiding. Be available to her. Look her in the eyes, be emotionally available, be like really present with her. And also, side note, appreciate that women are really vulnerable to slut shaming, even while they're having sex, right? Women are super vulnerable. They need because other women.
So you don't want to call her a slut during sex?
Well, I mean,
if
she's into it, right? Some of us like that.
Let's not confuse. Let's not confuse people.
No, don't. I know, right? Unless she's different. Don't do anything that's too out there, like calling her a slut or worse, right? Until you know that she's into it. But appreciate that sometimes when you feel like you're getting mixed signals from a woman, right? When she seems like she's really into you and then she pulls back a little bit and then she really wants you and she's like getting really sexually frisky with you, but then she pulls back a little bit. What she's doing is she's, in some instances, testing you to see if you're going to slut shame her, right? Women are so used to men wanting us to have sex with them, but then shaming us for having sex with them, right? Or treating us poorly for having sex with them, that we are very adept at putting our toes in the water and then pulling them out. Is this going to hurt me? Is this going to hurt my reputation? Is he going to run and tell all his boys? Is he going to run and tell my entire sorority? Is he going to tell my friends? Are people going to find out that I had sex with him? Right? And in that process, women are really vulnerable. Right? And the more that you can do to let her know that you don't judge her for having sex with you, which I know seems obvious, but it's not. You cannot go far enough out of your way really to let her know that you want her and that you are not going to ever judge her for anything that happens in between the two of you. Right? And this leads me to one of the other points that I really, really, really wanted to make. I really want people to appreciate is that women want to have sex. Right? Well, I think a lot of men don't really completely get this. They see sex as something that women give to men or that men have to like trick women out of. It's like women are sitting on a pot of gold and you've got to like charm the leprechaun to get the gold out. Like women want to have sex. Sex feels good for us. We enjoy it. There's all kinds of nice, we're the multi-orgasmic sex, And I'm not just saying this as the girl who took notes on her virginity and all the first time she had sex. I'm speaking for women here. The grand majority of women enjoy having sex. They enjoy having sex with someone who cares about their pleasure, cares about their experience, supports them as like a whole human who has needs, who has dreams, who has ambitions, who has intelligence, who has things that they've worked hard for and that they're proud of, right? We enjoy sex. Like we want to have sex with you. We just want to have sex with you, especially if you're empathetic towards what it feels like for us to have sex with you.
Which is mainly one of the reasons why we're doing this episode, right? So guys can really understand that.
Yeah. Take perspective, like really, I hope that through this entire episode, what we give men is a window or permission to think about what it's like to be in a woman's shoes. Men they don't really have to do that, right? For the most part, like you're not really challenged to think about what it must be like to be a woman all that often. Maybe it's a passing thought, but it's not something that culturally or societally is really enforced on us. Right? And I think women have to do it a little bit more with men just because we have to get along with men, right? For our own safety and our own well-being. Like if you're a woman and you don't bother to figure out kind of a little bit what life is like as a man, you could actually be in danger, right? So
how do you mean?
Like, think about it like this. The major cause of death for women, like for young women, is men, right? The major cause of permanent bodily injury and harm is men. We are more in danger for having a male partner. And I don't mean strange men who like come up to you on the street, although there's certainly a lot of risk associated with them. I'm talking about like your husbands, your brothers, your fathers, your boyfriends. These are the people who are the most dangerous. These are the guys who are most likely to, these are the thing in the world that is most likely to end your life or cause permanent physical harm. And I'm not just talking about like because they're aggressive or violent. Like this is true even on a sexual level because women are way more likely to get an STD from having sex with a man who's infected than a man is likely to contract an STD from a woman who's infected. Like up and down, men are the highest, the most dangerous risk that women face. And because of this, most of us have become pretty well adopted. We've become pretty well adept at like appreciating when men are dangerous. So take, for example, a woman who says that she's got a boyfriend when you ask her out or something, right? The reason that she says that is because she wants to let you save face. If she were to say something like, as if I'd ever go out with you, well, you might not be the guy who gets violent, but guess what? She's met plenty of guys who have gotten violent, who have turned against her in that moment. And that's why women are so careful to like let men down lightly. And so men, you might go like, well, why doesn't she just, tell me no? I wish she would just reject me. It's because men who weren't you put her in danger, real physical danger after she rejected them. And that's why she lets you down really softly because she doesn't know you. And she doesn't know if you're going to be one of those guys who flies off the deep end and, smashes a bottle on the bar, holds a knife up against her throat. And I'm not exaggerating here. Those are real examples of things that have happened to people who I know after they rejected a man and to myself as well. So when you put this in this perspective and remember, okay, this is, so again, perspective taking, empathizing with a woman. I'm 5'5", 120 pounds. Okay. Most men, the average American male where we live in America is bigger than me. The average man in Chicago is probably a lot bigger than me, right? My own partner, my husband, is like really strong. Like he could kill me. He could literally, I live every day surrounded by people who, if one of them was like really unstable and emotionally unwell, they could actually end my life. I go to sleep and wake up every single day with someone who, and God, I married him. I love him. He would never kill me. I don't think so anyway. But I wake up every morning.
I'll make sure he doesn't. Don't worry.
Thank you. I wake up every morning next to someone who, like, if they chose to, could probably just like reach over and end my life. And I know that this feels like a big exaggeration, but men, you cannot begin to imagine what just the embodied experience of being a woman in the world is. We go on public transit. We sit next to you in class. We are at the cubicle across from you. We pass you in the hallways or pass you in the street. And you are bigger and you are more powerful than we are. And it probably doesn't enter your mind what that must be like. But imagine if you were, I think this is a really great example. Imagine if the world was surrounded by really horny gay dudes that were a lot bigger than you, right? If everywhere you went, there was one really big, really horny dude just licking his lips and looking you up and down, it would probably impact your life. It would impact your behaviors, the decisions that you made, whether you decided to walk around late at night, right? Whether you decided to go running through the park after dark. If you knew that there were just a potentially bunch of thirsty, horny gay dudes in that park who were bigger and stronger than you were. And this is a pretty extreme example, but I hope that it invites listeners to take on the perspective. The next time that you see a girl who you think is really attractive at a coffee shop or in class, I want you to just put yourself in her shoes really for a minute. Think about if other guys have maybe hit on her today. Think about if she's dating someone or if she's not dating someone, what that experience might be like for her. Think about what it's like just to have 3 guys around her who are way bigger and stronger than she is, how that must feel for her in her body. And let that be a guide for you when you approach her, right? This should in no way am I meaning to suggest that you shouldn't approach her. I'm saying that if you think about what it's like to be her, when you go to approach her, you're going to have a leg up on all those muscle heads who just threw a cheap line at her, right? Because you've taken a minute to just think about what it's like to be in her skin, and then you approach from there. And that's going to get you really the results, the sex, the girlfriends and the wives that ultimately you're seeking.
I love that. That's fantastic. Yeah. And I agree with you 100% on all that. I don't think men understand that women do have a lot of, this is something that I recently learned. And when I say recently, I mean in the past maybe 5 years of all the safety issues that women go through, And so they're in a total different mindset.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to a girlfriend of mine recently, and how we were talking about the differences where I'll just walk outside at any hour of the night and not think twice about it. Yeah, I'm a little bit on guard a little bit, because maybe it's late and whatever. But I'm fairly certain I'm going to be okay. And so it doesn't really cross my mind. But a woman, that's not it at all. If she had the choice, she wouldn't want to leave at night, leave her home for any reason. I'm talking about walking outside and having to walk to a store or something like that. So just understanding that really helps you empathize with what's going on here. And then even back to this whole idea of, it goes deeper for a woman. This is all connected. This is why it's okay, she has to put a lot of trust in a guy
mm-hmm.
to feel turned on, to have him enter her and be completely vulnerable. So there's just all these layers going on, the self-consciousness, all the slut shaming, the safety issues, the foreign objects entering her, the fact that probably most guys aren't good in bed. I just think most people aren't good in bed. I'm just not blaming men. I think women too. It's we don't learn sex. We watch porn and a little bit of it is primal, I guess, because we just kind of sort of know what to do. It's in our biology. But, it's just all this combined. This is a large experience for a woman. For you as a guy, you're just oh, boobs, face, butt, skin, penis getting hard. I want to put it in her. It's a little bit more caveman. Again, generally speaking. But I think all that stuff is really good to know, Caitlin.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. It's good. I'm really appreciative of you inviting me to come and talk about this, because I want all the men and women out there to have really great sex. And beyond that, to have really great love and relationships and lifetime marriages and partners and kids and all the other things that they want. But, my goal in this is for everyone to get laid exactly the way that they want to. And that goes for men as well as women.
I love that. On that note, there are probably mistakes that you're making in the bedroom. So I want you, the listener, to go to my website. I'm going to put a link in the episode notes, tripadvice.com/bedroom-mistakes-men-make. Bedroom mistakes men make. Caitlin wrote a insanely epic and thorough blog post it's on my blog, but I don't even call it a blog post. It's a guide. It is a guide to everything sex and how to be an amazing lover. It's free. It's on my website. Go check it out. Again, Caitlin wrote this thing, and it's amazing. And also, Caitlin, maybe tell the guys a little bit about your services. So if they're interested in becoming a better lover, or they have any issues in the bedroom and they want to take it even further than reading the guide or the blog post, that they can work with you. So where can they reach out, and what do you help with?
Yeah, I work with men on at the core, I work with men on confidence, right? And ending premature ejaculation, preventing erectile dysfunction, and becoming amazing lovers in bed. And you can find me at bettersexcoach.com. And if you fill out my contact form there and you put TripAdvice in, you say, like, how I heard about you is TripAdvice, I will give you a free hour of my time. We'll do a consultation, and I will dive deep with any of your listeners to help them figure out what's going on and what's preventing them from having the best sex life possible.
Whoa. Okay. I actually did not know you were going to offer that. That's an amazing offer. Guys, take her up on that. She's amazing. There's a reason why she's probably the most featured guest across the platforms on all TripAdvice content. So check her out. You should be. Well, you're amazing at what you do, and you explain things so well. So Caitlin, thank you so much for being here. Guys, check her out. Check out the blog post, and I'm sure sometime in the future we'll have you back again.
I look forward to it.